Strange, isn't it? How a place can call to you before you even step inside. You look at four walls, a roof, maybe some doors and windows, and to everyone else it's just a building. But to you, it feels different. It hums. It breathes. It pulls at you like it already knows your name. You can try to ignore it, pretend it's nothing, but deep down you feel it. This space was waiting for your footsteps, your voice, your story to fill it. Some things aren't random. Some places aren't accidents. And when that whisper comes, this house is yours. You either see it now, or you lose it forever. A house becomes alive when it recognizes its owner. To most people, it's just wood, bricks, and stones stacked together. A structure that holds furniture, a roof to keep the rain out, walls to stop the wind from creeping in. But when a place belongs to you, it doesn't feel like an object anymore. It feels like it has a pulse, a strange rhythm that beats only when you're near. The walls aren't silent. They echo differently when your presence fills them. The air doesn't feel stale. It bends as if it's finally breathing the way it was always meant to. That's not fantasy. That's connection. You walk through 1,000 places in your life, and most of them blur into each other. Hotels, halls, rented rooms, lifeless boxes where you exist for a moment and then vanish. But then there's that one place that stops you. You step in, and something inside you whispers, "This is it." You don't even know why. Maybe the light hits the floor a certain way. Maybe the sound of your footsteps feels too familiar. Maybe it's nothing you can explain, but everything you can feel. That's the moment the house recognizes you, the way a mirror recognizes a face. See, places hold memory even before you write yours into them. They wait. They sit quietly, collecting silence, storing up a kind of emptiness that can only be filled by the right person. When that person arrives, the energy shifts. It's almost eerie, like the house exhales after holding its breath too long. People call it intuition or imagination, but it's real. A space that was once cold suddenly feels warm, alive, almost protective. Because ownership isn't just a contract, it's an exchange. The place offers itself to you, and you, in turn, give it meaning. Think about it. A house without its owner is hollow. It doesn't matter how beautiful, how large, how perfect. It feels incomplete, unfinished, like a stage with no actors. But the second you walk in, something aligns. It's not just about filling space with furniture or paint. It's about filling it with presence, with weight, with the sense that the walls finally have a story to hold. A true house doesn't live until the one meant for it steps inside. That's when the heartbeat begins. Most people don't realize this, so they wander from place to place, treating homes like boxes they can trade whenever they feel restless. And that's why nothing ever feels permanent. They never stay long enough to let the house wake up. They never connect enough to make the walls whisper back. But when it's truly yours, the bond is undeniable. Even if it's bare, even if it's broken, even if it's smaller than what you thought you wanted, it feels alive. Because it doesn't just shelter you, it claims you. It's not about luxury. It's not about status. It's about alignment. The house you're meant to have carries your imprint before you ever touch it. That's why some places feel wrong, no matter how much you decorate them, while others feel right the moment you step across the threshold. The house already knows. It's been waiting. And once you recognize it, the bond becomes permanent. It doesn't matter if others walk in, they won't feel what you feel. To them, it's just walls. To you, it's alive. That's why people talk about home as if it breathes, because it does. Not in the way a body does, but in the way energy does. It holds laughter, arguments, whispers, dreams. It absorbs the life you pour into it and reflects it back. And when it's truly yours, it doesn't just hold your life. It amplifies it. It gives back more than you put in. That's the difference between a building and a home. One is dead space. The other is alive with recognition. A house becomes alive when it recognizes its owner. Because ownership is more than possession. It's belonging. The house belongs to you, but in some unexplainable way, you also belong to it. And when that bond is sealed, the house stops being a place you live in and becomes a part of who you are. Destiny leaves signs. You either see them or miss them. The world isn't as random as people like to believe. You think everything is just coincidence, accidents bumping into each other, luck tossing you around like dice in someone else's game. But deep down, you felt it. Certain things don't happen by chance. A word arrives at the exact moment you need it. A door opens when you were about to collapse from knocking. A stranger's face looks at you like they've known you for lifetimes. These aren't accidents. These are markers. Road signs left along the path to remind you that you're not wandering aimlessly. But here's the problems. Most people don't notice. They're too distracted, too busy staring at the noise to see what's hidden in the silence. Destiny doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't shove itself into your chest. It slides in like a shadow. If you're not paying attention, you'll step over it like trash on the street. And later, you'll wonder why nothing ever changes, why the world feels empty, why doors never open. The signs were there. You just ignored them. The truth is, signs aren't always glamorous. They don't come wrapped in gold, glowing under spotlights. Sometimes they show up in the form of discomfort, failure, rejection. That job you lost, that door that slammed, that person who walked away. Maybe that wasn't destruction. Maybe it was direction. But if you only see it as loss, you miss the signal. The path doesn't reveal itself in neon lights. It shows itself through cracks, through interruptions, through the things that jolt you awake. Every time something breaks, it's a clue. But people love to stay asleep, don't they? They complain about the noise instead of hearing the message inside it. When you do start noticing, everything changes. You see patterns where before you only saw chaos. You realize timing isn't coincidence, it's choreography. The person you met wasn't random, they were placed. The door that opened wasn't luck, it was alignment. But this isn't magic, it's awareness. Once your eyes adjust, you can't unsee it. The universe keeps leaving breadcrumbs, but only those willing to slow down and look will ever find them. And don't think signs always feel good. Sometimes they sting. Sometimes they drag you through pain before showing you purpose. That's the trap. People want destiny to feel easy, but the strongest signs are often the hardest to swallow. You pray for clarity, and when it comes you hate it, because it demands change. It demands risk. It demands that you step where you swore you'd never go. But isn't that what growth looks like? If destiny always felt comfortable, everyone would walk their path without hesitation. The truth is, the signs are there to test whether you're ready to pay attention or if you'd rather stay blind. There's a reason people say hindsight is 20/20. When you look back, suddenly all the scattered pieces line up. That conversation, that rejection, that delay, it all led here. You couldn't see it then because you were too busy asking, "Why me?" instead of asking, "What for?" The signs didn't disappear. You just didn't read them. And now, with distance, you finally understand. That's how destiny works. It doesn't spell it out for you in advance. It gives you hints, small pushes, sharp nudges. If you choose to ignore them, you wander in circles. If you choose to follow, the road clears. And maybe the cruelest part of it all is that the signs don't stop coming. Even when you miss one, another shows up. But every missed signal costs you time, energy, opportunities. And if you keep ignoring long enough, you end up so far from where you were meant to be that the signs start to feel meaningless. That's why awareness is survival. That's why paying attention is everything. Because destiny won't beg you to notice. It will simply keep placing the clues until you either wake up or waste away. Ownership begins in the mind before it shows in reality. People think having something means holding it in their hands, signing papers, locking it behind doors. They believe possession is about evidence, about proof the world can see. But that's not how it works. Everything begins as a claim you make inside yourself, long before it ever becomes visible. You don't walk into a place and wait for someone to hand you the keys. You walk in already knowing it's yours, already carrying that weight in your chest. The world doesn't confirm it first. You do. Look at how weak people move through life. They wait for approval. They wait for permission. They wait for proof before they allow themselves to believe. And so they never get far. Because here's the truth. Life doesn't give gifts to the hesitant. If you don't claim it in your mind, you'll never hold it in your hands. You can stand in front of the very thing meant for you and still lose it because you were too uncertain, too blind, too timid to recognize it was already yours. Ownership isn't about waiting. It's about declaring. Think about how a predator claims its territory. It doesn't ask anyone's opinion. It doesn't hold a debate. It marks it fiercely, instinctively. That's not arrogance. That's survival. That's how life respects strength. Because when you decide something belongs to you, you move differently. You protect it. You invest in it. You refuse to let anyone else take it. But if you wait until the world hands it over politely, someone hungrier, someone bolder, Someone who already claimed it in their mind will snatch it from you while you're still daydreaming. People don't understand that reality bends to belief. If you walk into a room uncertain, the room rejects you. If you step into it like it's already yours, the space adjusts. The energy shifts. The opportunities lean toward you. That's not fantasy. It's human psychology. People sense conviction. They sense ownership before the paperwork exists. And the universe itself seems to align with those who already see what isn't there yet. It's the invisible claim that makes the visible possible. But here's the catch. You can't fake it. Pretending you own something you don't believe in crumbles fast. Real ownership comes from deep certainty. The kind that doesn't need to scream. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you stand, the way you act when nobody's watching. That inner claim has to be unshakable, or the first gust of resistance will strip it away. That's why so many people quit halfway. They thought they could trick themselves into confidence, but their foundation was hollow. Ownership starts in the mind, and if your mind isn't firm, your reality will collapse. This is why people sabotage themselves. They dream about a life, a house, a relationship, but deep down they don't believe they deserve it. And because they don't believe, they never step fully into it. Even if the door opens, they hesitate at the threshold. Even if the chance is handed to them, they let it slip through their fingers. Not because it wasn't meant for them, but because they never claimed it inside first. The mind rejected what the world was ready to give. When you claim ownership mentally, everything else follows. Your actions change, your energy shifts, your decisions sharpen. You stop asking, "What if it's not for me?" and start asking, "How do I build what's already mine?" That shift is brutal. It takes you out of the victim's seat and puts you in the driver's seat. It strips away excuses. Because once you've owned it in your mind, you no longer wait. You act like someone who's protecting what already belongs to them. The cruel irony is that the world mirrors what you believe. If you move as if you're undeserving, the world treats you that way. If you move as if you're already an owner, the world slowly conforms. It might resist at first, it might push back, but it bends eventually. Ownership is contagious. People start to see what you see. Doors begin to open. The life you imagined starts to solidify because you never treated it as imagination. You treated it as inevitable. Ownership begins in the mind. And that's why most never taste it. They're waiting for proof before they believe, not realizing belief itself is the proof. The claim inside you is the seed, and without it, nothing ever grows. Doors open only when you believe they're meant for you. People walk past opportunities every single day, staring at them like strangers, whispering to themselves that those doors belong to someone else. They convince themselves they're not ready, not worthy, not chosen, and so they never even touch the handle. What they don't understand is that the door was never locked. It was waiting. But the rule is simple. If you don't believe it's yours, it stays closed. Belief is the key. Not credentials, not money, not permission. Belief. The world doesn't hand things to doubters. It responds to certainty. The moment you decide a door is yours, something changes. Your body moves with a different rhythm. Your voice carries a different weight. Your steps no longer hesitate. People can sense it. The universe can sense it. The door itself, as strange as it sounds, seems to sense it. Because doors are symbolic. They don't swing open for those who beg. They swing open for those who claim. Think about it. You've seen people with less talent, less strength, less ability rise higher than others who were clearly more qualified. Why? Because they believed. They walked toward doors like they belonged inside. They didn't waste time asking if they were good enough. They acted like the question had already been answered. That's the difference. Not skill, not luck, belief. And belief makes doors respond. Of course, most people don't even try. They see a door and immediately disqualify themselves. They say it's too big, too heavy, too far out of reach. They build stories in their heads about rejection before they even take a step. And in doing so, they fulfill their own prophecy. The door doesn't open. Not because it wasn't meant to, but because they never approached with belief. Fear is the lock. Doubt is the chain. And people walk around carrying both, convincing themselves they were locked out when, in truth, they locked themselves out. When you finally strip away the fear, something strange happens. Doors stop looking like obstacles and start looking like invitations. What felt intimidating becomes magnetic. You begin to understand that closed doors aren't closed to everyone. They're closed to those who don't believe. The second you believe, you stop seeing a barrier and start seeing a challenge. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What if I don't even try?" That shift changes everything. But belief isn't about arrogance. It's not about pretending you know everything or forcing your way in blindly. It's about quiet conviction. It's about walking toward the door with the sense that it was built with your hand in mind. When you believe, you knock differently. You wait differently. You endure differently. And more often than not, the door eventually gives way. Not because it suddenly decided you were worthy, but because you decided you were. That's the game people don't want to face. They'd rather blame luck, circumstances, timing. They'd rather complain about how doors never open for them. But the truth is harsher. The door responds to belief, and they never carried enough of it. They showed up with hesitation, with insecurity, with doubt dripping from their every move. And the door stayed closed, not because it hated them, but because they announced with their own energy that they didn't belong. The irony is that belief doesn't guarantee the door opens instantly. Sometimes it resists. Sometimes it creaks slowly, testing your patience. Sometimes it forces you to knock again and again until your knuckles bleed. But if you truly believe it's yours, you keep pressing, you keep pushing, you keep knocking, and eventually it moves. That's the proof. Not that it was impossible, but that it was always waiting for someone who refused to doubt. Doors open only when you believe they're meant for you, because belief is the invitation, the password, the spark. Without it, you'll wander hallways full of closed doors and die wondering why none of them opened. With it, you'll find that doors you thought were impossible were never locked at all.